All right. Well, thank you all. For this first section, we're going to record it so we have it available to share it with our membership if they're curious and weren't able to join today. I'm Jennifer Studebaker. I'm the current interim executive director at WFAN, and I'd like to introduce our two current staff members. Let's start with Piper.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Piper Wood, and I am WFAN's communications manager. I've been with WFAN since um, about 3 years ago. I started as the conference assistant and then came on full time in late 2022. And so I'm really excited to see you all and see familiar faces and meet some new folks. But I'll actually be wrapping up my time at WFAN at the end of this week. So this is a very bittersweet call, but really nice way to kind of put a bow on the last 3 years of what's been some really, really great work and great people to get to work with. But I'm the one that sends you all of your emails and is the person behind the newsletter. And basically, if you get communications from us in any way, it's typically come through me. So know that we might have talked even if we're just meeting now. So great to see you all. Thanks for coming. And I'll pass it over to Lauren.
Hi everyone. I'm Lauren Morales. I am the program manager here at WFAN. I currently reside in Omaha, Nebraska. I've been in this position for about a year and a half now. And most of my focus program-wise has been on the Harvesting Our Potential mentorship program.
All right. Well, thank you both. And yeah, happy to have several board members also on the call today. I believe you introduced yourselves in the chat as well. So we're going to go ahead and get into the results now, so we can get to some discussion about implications. So we launched our member survey on May 19th. So all of you should have received an emailed introduction via Piper. And we closed it on June 1st. We shared this via direct email in terms of an invite as well as on the listserv, recognizing we've been kind of squishy in terms of what it means to be a WPAN member historically. We received 38 replies total, which I will say as somebody who has a history in like survey research, it's kind of low for the size of our population that our membership that we have. But I think there's a number of factors that might have played into this. We had a relatively short time frame, it was really only 2 weeks. It was also overlapping with the Memorial holiday. I also know it's a popular time also if you're getting your garden or your farm going in terms of spending time outside. And also, I think the other hiccup too is Google's bucketing of emails. I think some of them landed in that promotions folder versus the main inbox. So I think those might have been some of the barriers that we ran into in terms of the response, but also recognizing that WFAN was just all of the transition that we've had over the past several months that we might have had just decreased member engagement in terms of, people looking out for communications from us. But you're also welcome to correct us when we get to the discussion if you think there's other reasons why people maybe didn't reply. So our first question on the survey was, how did you learn about WFAN? And far and away, our top response here was through a friend or a colleague, followed by a conference or an event hosted by another organization. So I think this really emphasizes that community connection is really important in terms of bringing people into the sort of WFAN community. And also include a PDF of this as like a follow-up that you can have access to, and you'll also have access to this recording as well if you want to dig in a little deeper too. Next up, we asked people what inspired you to join or support WFAN and what has kept you connected. And the top themes here were one, our focus on women in agriculture. That's our mission. I think that makes a lot of sense that people would align with us. And along with that, they supported our mission overall, followed by looking for connection and networking. Also, there was a lot of appreciation for our newsletter, so shout out to Piper and great work there. And then I think that the other two areas we had that popped up were our Women Caring for the Land program, as well as our Harvesting Our Potential program. So our Women Caring for the Land program, that's really centered around helping women landowners think through how to incorporate more conservation practices and sustainable agricultural practices into the agreements they have with their tenant farmers, as well as our harvesting and potential program that's really focused around connecting beginning farmers with more established farmers, growers, and this also includes other food producers, so those that keep livestock, and I believe we also have a beekeeper in there too. So these two are also programs that people have really appreciated. And I've got a few quotes here over on the side highlighting, these particular sentiments. So, I'm a female landowner and I'm trying to make a farm. I'd love to connect with others like me. I believe in the work of the Women Food and Agriculture Network. And, here they listed out, uh, all the things I love, a perfect match in terms of the focus of what organization does. Next up, we asked, what does WFAN do well that you would like to see continue? Top themes were convening. So there was a lot of interest in seeing a conference. I think a lot of people really appreciate that in-person interaction, but also there was interest in virtual events as well. Following that, the mentoring, and I think the mentoring here was reflecting reactions to our HOP program, but also I believe there is some mentoring aspects to the Women Caring for Land program as well that people really appreciated. There's definitely a lot of appreciation and love for communication. So again, Piper, if you need some of these quotes to put in your future portfolio, I'd be happy to share with you. And then again, this emphasis on the programming. People really appreciated these core programs with Women Caring for the Land and Harvesting Our Potential. So people were really looking for opportunities for women to gather and share. Definitely want to see the conference happen again. And, those emails and news and updates, I don't think I've ever seen a survey where somebody asked for more emails. So I think that really says something about the quality of the emails that we've been sending. Next up, we have, what would you like to see WFAN start doing? So some of these also kind of resonated with that continue doing. So again, we have more community building. People want to have more meetings. There's an interest in topical webinars for people to come together. Again, the conference. There's also an interest in more regional events with maybe a potential for forming chapters and other ways to engage. I think there's just a real strong interest in people wanting to have chances to connect with each other. And I think it's not on this one, but there was one quote where, I think there was a few times we did try to bring people together and it was just like staff and a few other people. I think there's really interest in people wanting to connect with each other within the membership. And then again, more mentoring. So this is what people would like to see us start doing more of. Next, we have, what would you like to see WFAN do differently than we've done before? And really, again, we didn't get a lot of pushback. I think people really wanted us to do more of the same that we have been doing, to really own who we are in terms of our focus and our mission. That reorientation on the Midwest, we're founded in Iowa, but I think with the switch to virtual of COVID, our membership has grown to be more national. And I don't think we have to disconnect from those members, but I think thinking about how do we emphasize our programming in the Midwest to have that stronger impact. And then people are also looking for ways to engage. So volunteer opportunities and programming for experienced members. And I think this, I think one of the narratives I've heard just from other conversations with current and past members is that, I think a lot of people really enjoy their time in our programs with Women Caring for the Land and Harvesting Our Potential. But once that program's over, and I think this was true with also our Stories of the Season project, there's not a lot of avenues for people to remain engaged. So really thinking through, how do we give people the opportunity to stay in community after having built those really strong connections? All right. So here we get some pie charts. So one of the questions I had is, how do people feel about the prospective change of our membership structure to be a tiered income-based one with annual dues? And I will say this is like a very kind of difficult set of results to work with, because my perspective, and this is, I have to work on a paper about this. My theory is like the Midwestern no is that 3 in the middle there. So I'd say there's kind of mixed reactions in terms of people's enthusiasm for the idea of a tiered income-based model. And I think one of the things to also note too is that this question was just asking that. It didn't provide any examples, and also it didn't provide any context in terms of what we currently have. So I think there's some opportunities here in maybe communicating and clarifying what we mean by this as we think about moving ahead. But I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. I know there were some concerns about the membership having tiered benefits, so not everybody is receiving the same benefits with that breakout. So I think that that would also be something to be sensitive to. Next, so one of the ways I thought maybe we could mitigate some of the pressure of introducing a membership model would be offering a scholarship fund where people could pay it forward and support somebody that may not be able to afford a membership. And again, I think we got kind of lukewarm results here too, with only about under half actually supporting that. So when it comes to member benefits, what would people be interested in? Our top response here was member discounts at WFAN events. So, I think we're really thinking about the conference there, but there may be also other potential events where, there's no issues with everybody being able to access the event, but members do get a discount that makes sense for them. Next, we have access to member-only digital resources. So, this could be potentially educational resources or more some of the more, I guess, artistic creative ones like our zine as potential resources that people could have access to. And then also access to member-only events and activities, followed by member discounts to companies and service providers. And then the WFAN sticker, I threw this one in because I looked at a previous survey and somebody emphasized that they would really love a sticker. So we've added that there. And then there was 24% were interested in the opportunity to represent WFAN with our partner organizations. Within this other, we had several call outs for the ball cap. There was interest in potential WFAN merch, as well as online member forum. And I think people really wanted to have meaningful activities. And I think this is something, as somebody, I don't really drink much anymore. So I think sometimes people struggle when the networking or the connection events are centered around alcohol. So thinking of ways that we can maybe connect and engage that are a little more inclusive. Next, we have what type of activities would you be interested in? Top here, we have topical webinars. So I think that is something that's very doable and we're definitely going to be starting to think about and brainstorm. Next up, we've got in-person regional meetups and networking events. There's interest there. Following that, it would be virtual meetups and networking. And the in-person conference came in at 57%, followed by the potential of virtual conference. So it's kind of interesting those two are tied. Following that, we've got the idea of virtual WFAN membership meetings. Then 46% interested in volunteer opportunities, and then a little lower response in terms of the fly-in events. So those are the activities people would be interested in engaging in. Next, this one, okay, is going to be hard to read, so I'll talk through it real quick because we've got a lot going on here. This was really centered around those topical webinars. What topics are people most interested in? So I'll just highlight the top 5 here. So the first one, and I think this was kind of no-brainer, is sustainable regenerative agricultural practices. I think that's kind of our bread and butter in terms of what WFAN supports. So focusing on that sustainable and regenerative ag is definitely important. Next up is land stewardship and conservation. I think that really mirrors the success of that Women Caring for the Land program, and with that, water access and conservation. Next, we have land access, and then following that, food processing and distribution. So I think there's a lot of really great ideas here. I did want to call it, we had a couple mentions in the other around the idea of health and safety on the farm. So that's something I've had on my radar as we've been thinking through future programming. All right. So one of the questions was around how do you prefer to receive communications and updates on WFAN's work? So there's definitely a preference for direct email. So great to hear everybody really likes getting emails, as well as a lot of love for the quarterly newsletter, which we'll definitely keep going forward. We also included a virtual meeting, listserv, and social media. Some people also add in the other regional in-person events, and then liking to get it through multiple channels, which can be helpful if you're worried about missing it on one other platform. All right, in terms of language, we only had a handful of people reply, but Spanish was the most requested language in terms of having potential other materials available, with mentions of Hmong, French, and Swahili. And then in terms of the open end I had at the end, asking what questions, comments, or concerns do you have that haven't been addressed in the above questions. We had a comment noting that, recognizing the need to focus on land and conservation improvement by sharing experiences in educational programs to explore choices and locate the manpower necessary to achieve projects. And then share reputable sources of information, encourage transparency, where to locate that information that may be appropriate to females to qualify, and complete conservation farming activities. And then a couple other notes around climate change discussions and food shed and food security concerns related to climate change. And there was several comments saying that they wanted us to keep up the good work that we had been doing. In terms of our demographics, so I made a conscious choice to not ask a large number of demographic questions because a lot of this data is also captured in our member application form. So I didn't see the point of duplicating that response. And also recognizing that our programming is focused on women. I don't think we need to check how many women we have in terms of our members. And also, being sensitive to the collection of data and the vulnerability that it can expose certain people to in this current political climate. We just chose to focus on what we really needed in terms of doing the actionable decision making. So here, in terms of our states, we have strong representation in Iowa, with 26% of the respondents living there. We also had several people in Virginia, Wisconsin, a couple in Ohio and Missouri. And then down here, this lists out where we had one mention of each location. So we've got all around the country, as well as someone in Liberia. So that's really nice to know we have some international reach as well. So in terms of the how people identify, we really focus more on their role within society, and they could, I believe, select more than one here. One thing I do want to call out that was an oversight on my end is we included beginning farmer or rancher, but we did not include established farmer and rancher, which I think was definitely an oversight and something I think we need to be sensitive to in the future. But yeah, 47% of the respondents identify as a landowner. Within this other bucket, we have activist, forager, herbalist, a member of the media, a tree nursery owner, and a writer. Next highest, we had a researcher at 29%. So we have quite a few people who are engaged in research, as well as policy advocate. So there's quite a bit of diversity here in terms of our membership, but recognizing, that I think our programming has really shaped who's here in terms of engaging with this member survey. All right, so I know that was a bit of a speed run. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link to this slide deck in the chat. So if any of you want to look at it, you'll have access to it as well during the discussion. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and stop my recording.